Rightio, video 2. I want to talk about the process of, I've got our little doggy here if you're wondering. This is Pepper. Pepper's quite a new addition to the bus. Say hello Pepper. Hello. So basically what I want to talk about this time is the process of getting to where we've got. You know, we talk to a lot of people and we get a lot of questions about what's involved, how do we start. You know, actually I remember when we first started out and we got, you know, like hundreds and hundreds of emails from people, and it really kind of scared me in a way, because they said, oh look, we're so inspired by what you're doing, my husband's handing notice next week, and come here Pepper, and we're gonna buy a bus and hit the road. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. You know, for us it was a 7-year process, and that wasn't just about the saving and stuff. That was actually about getting the courage to give up the job and move into a bus and actually begin to travel. You know, I remember going through a period when people found out what we were doing, and we got such a vast range of comments from people, from yay, excited for you, to oh well, it's all right for the wealthy, isn't it? You know, and to be honest, we were not wealthy when we started out, you know. And what people need to understand, for most, I'm not saying all, you know, I guess if you're fortunate enough to have a property to sell or a house to sell and get yourself set up with a strong financial base and a nice bus, then that's awesome. But the majority of people that we've met that have gone after this life are normally people who are looking for a more cost-effective way to live, or just wanting to get out of the rat race, which could mean giving up what is considered a secure income or a secure job. So before diving out and quitting your job and all that good stuff, you need to come up with a plan. And for us, that meant sitting in a paddock through winter for 7 months, and saving. Just to give you an idea of our story, basically I was in an office job, I have been most of my life, and my health was going downhill pretty quickly. I'd had a few ambulance rides from work to the hospital with suspected clotting in my legs and you know, possible heart attack. Fortunately it wasn't, and that was kind of a wake-up call for me, and I ended up at the doctor's and got referred to a stress counsellor because my stress levels were so high. And I think one of the best meetings I had with my stress counsellor is after the first time she met me and said I display about 80% of indicators of high stress. The following meeting we sat down, and it was probably the best. It really was a catalyst to doing what we're doing now. And she sat down with a calculator and a pad and said, right, how much do you earn? And so I told her how much I earned. She said, how much can you save a week? Well, that was a bit of a joke, but we sort of came up with a figure. And so she sat down just quietly for 5 or 10 minutes, did some calculations, handed me a piece of paper with a date on it, and oh yeah, because the other question was, how much do you need to get going, to quit your job and go and feel safe, or, you know, relatively comfortable. And so, you know, she worked out that figure. She handed me a piece of paper with a date on and said, this is when you're quitting your job. And it's just like, I just felt this weight just lift, and suddenly something that we had been talking about had teeth. It suddenly became a reality. And when she handed me that piece of paper, it suddenly became real, and it felt tangible, and it felt possible. Not only that, but I noticed that it created motivation, and we ended up actually saving 2.5 times what that figure was that we came up with. So I think a great place to start is actually finding what the motivation is. What is it that is going to actually cause you to take the necessary steps to get to the life that you want to live? You know, I used to go on the internet and I'd surf the web for all these stunning places around New Zealand, and I'd look at them and it used to stir me, and I was like, oh, I want to go there, I want to explore, because I have quite an adventurous nature. And the thing is, we just kept talking about it and kept talking about it and kept talking about it. You know, and it's that whole thing of, you know, as my wife always said, you know, a lot of people say to us, oh, one day we'll do it. And like my wife says, there is no one day. There's only Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Pick one and start. We moved out of our flat, our house. We boxed up our goods, we gave stuff away, we sold stuff, and we just started the whole downsizing process, which, you know, was tough. I'm probably going to talk about that in another video, because we have had conversations with people online about going through the emotions of downsizing, specifically, you know, things that mean a lot to you that are quite sentimental, and so I think I'll make a separate video on that. So yeah, but anyway, we did start downsizing. We moved out of our house. We found somebody who allowed us to park on their property for 7 months while we were saving. Obviously that eliminated a lot of our costs, because we had the bus, we had brought our bus, we had had it for 7 years sitting in a driveway, because it was 7 years previous that we wanted to go and live this life and actually didn't. Come here, Pippa, come on. My advice is to come up with a plan, come up with a strategy, decide where you're going to begin. My recommendation would be, don't borrow money if you don't have to. There are other ways. I'm going to talk more about that in other videos as well. Yeah, so the plan, make one. Find out what your motivation is, find out what is going to drive you to do this, find out what it is that is going to help you live your dream. Another thing is too, that when we speak to people, we've spoken to people and they have thought that the ideal was to move into a bus because everybody else is. It may not be right for you, and I'm going to talk more about that at some stage, because one thing I've realised, when we're talking to people, they just all like, oh yeah, the wife wants to give up suburbia and move into a bus and travel. And then we sit down with these people, and the more we talk to them, we find it's actually something else they're wanting. Or, you know, or it could be the other way around, where they're saying, oh, I want to buy a piece of land in a tiny house. And then we sit down with them, and the more we talk, we realise that they want to travel. So you really need to think through the whole process, because some people tend to, and we sort of did at the start, I suppose, is you jump in and you're a little bit green about the whole lifestyle or pursuing your dreams and stuff, and there's going to be a process. Another video I'm going to do soon is the year of undoing, and that's basically what that is I have found that the majority of people that have moved into buses or radically changed their lives tend to go through a year of what I call undoing. You know, I know for the first year I saw stuff in myself that I was like, no, that's not me, I'm not that horrible person, you know. And it really can highlight who you are, because you've removed all your crutches, you've removed all the things that you base your maybe base your self-esteem on, base your what you believe to be successful, and what you believe to be important. You know, for a lot of people it's the big house and the fast car, and I'm not saying that's wrong. If that's what you want from life, if that's your goal, then awesome, go for it. But I've found a lot of people who have downsized and removed all that stuff, they suddenly don't have that to lean on. Sometimes, you know, your self-esteem can get a little knock, because it's like, you know, we used to have a nice big black late model Jeep with spotlights, and we were living in a 3-storied 6-bedroom house on 2 acres of landscape gardens, and we thought we were successful. However, it caused so much stress, because again, you've got to maintain that life. But once that's removed and once that's stripped away, you can feel quite exposed, and then you've got to find out where your values really lie and what's really, really important to you. So yeah, to live this life of freedom, it has come at a cost, and I'm going to talk about that. I know I say this a lot, but it is, I have a whole list of videos I am going to make. It has cost us to live this life. It hasn't come easy. People make the assumption that I've just walked out of work and that I'm probably a millionaire and we just drive free and you know, have no responsibility or contribute in any way to society, and yet I found that to be the furthest thing from the truth. And I will reveal more of that as we go on. But the reason we can sit on this beautiful beach and do this with our friends is because we came up with a plan and we worked through that plan. And I can tell you, if I could take the camera and flash back over the last couple of years, you'll see that it's not all a bed of roses. You know, we're just like everybody else. We have some really, really crappy days. But as I say to my wife, and my wife reminds me as well, a crappy day in the bus is better than a great day in the office when my health was suffering. The plan for us really was to start saving, start eliminating debt. That's a biggie. We've seen people start this process and sadly have had to give it up, and it's heartbreaking when you're following people that you're getting to know on Facebook and stuff, and you're following the process and the build of their buses, and then suddenly they're selling. So one key, or one of my biggest encouragements, is eliminate debt first, then get some savings, and then begin the process of your bus build or whatever it is you're wanting to do. As we move on, I'm going to get into more practical stuff. We're going to hopefully take you through some buses and give you an idea of what's out there. You know, like one of the most common questions we get asked is, do I buy a bus, do I buy a caravan, do I buy a motorhome, what should I get, where do I start? So we are going to talk about the real practical stuff, but as I said, I'm just wanting to lay a foundation, and you know, you've got to start with a plan. Yeah, and remember, life's a journey.